and ensure that all speakers and presentations can be heard, can I ask you all to keep your microphones on mute throughout the sessions as well, please? We do have a chat function, so if you do have any questions that you want to ask, we do encourage your questions at this point in the chat, and we'll be able to answer them as and when we can and during the questions and answer session at the end. The spirit of tonight's session is that everyone's views are important, and please feel free to say what you really think about everything. There's no right or wrong answers, and we can always build on others' answers as well. Before I introduce the other speakers and run through the session's aims and outcomes, I would like to play a short video just providing further details about our society, which I hope you will all find useful. Perfect. So what I'll do now is just welcome our guest speakers for the session. So we have Mike Pickering, who is the Co-operative Social Responsibility Manager for Energy and the Environment. And we also have Marnie Richards, who is the Young People Engagement Coordinator. I'll run through the agenda, so what to expect for tonight's session. So firstly, I'll give you an update about the Young Co-operators Network and the election campaigns that are taking place this year. We'll then hear from Mike Pickering about climate action and a quick introduction to our eco-friendly Botley food store. We'll hear from Marnie Richards about our Create and Cook scheme, and we'll watch a short video from our environmental ambassador, Cal Major. We'll have some questions towards the end, and we will have a short video played by our president and the formal close. So what I'll do is I'll start off by showing you a short video again about the Young Co-operators Network, and this will just provide you with an update about what we've been doing. So this leads us on to where we are now. So again, in 2019, I was seconded to work on this project, and I permanently joined the team in February this year. Since joining the team full time, we've seen increases in areas such as social media presence, active and engaged members via social media, increased democratic activity, and much more. The strategic aims of the Young Co-operators Network is to influence, inspire, and inform. We want the voices of our young co-operators to be heard and recognised that they do matter, and we want them to influence and inform the decisions we make within the society, ultimately inspiring young members and others to be engaged. I'll quickly go through of the top level activities that we've done in the past few years and what we're looking to do this year. So in 2019, we appointed 10 colleague ambassadors to help shape what the YCN looks like and to help raise awareness of it. We also held recruitment events in schools and colleges, and we held a Young Co-operators Network conference at the AGM. In 2020, 2 young co-operators were appointed seats on the Member Engagement Committee. We held a Mid-Counties only event at Wolverhampton University, where we engaged with over 100 young people. And we also have a monthly Colleague Connect feature, which highlights the work that young people are doing within the society. We also send monthly surveys asking young members what topics they want us to tackle. And we use this information to help shape what events we hold for young people. And then finally, this year, we have a space on this year's AGM to highlight what work we have been doing. And we're also holding specific pre-AGM events like this one for young members. We're looking to film and publish a recruitment video to help attract more young members to join the Young Co-operators Network and to have their say in how your co-op is ran. We're looking to reopen our work experience scheme in September. Obviously, this is COVID dependent. And finally, we're holding the first ever Young Co-operators election campaign. So as I just mentioned, the Young Member Election campaign is for 3 seats on our Member Engagement Committee. We'll be running this alongside the Society's elections, which will be working closely with the governance team to ensure that we do meet all of the high standards and requirements that the Mid-Counties currently hold. Having young people on the Member Engagement Committee can bring lots of benefits, and a few of these are raising awareness to young people that they can stand for election on this committee. They bring fresh ideas and insights, and it also provides young members an equal opportunity and voice, and ensures that young members and voices feel represented, and their ideas and voices can influence what the society do in future. Our ambitions for 2025 are to see young members elected into these positions on a yearly basis, and hopefully move this to the board of directors as well. Also, we want to grow the Young Co-operators Network to over 5,000 active and engaged members. And with the launch of Your Co-op Rewards, we want to include rewards that target young members and to have young people actively involved in our social media channels, driving content that they really want to see and hear. So thank you very much for your time and attention. I will now pass over to Mike Pickering, who is our Cooperative Social Responsibility Manager, to discuss how we're tackling single-use plastics and how we can help protect the environment. So Mike, I'll pass over to you if that's okay.
Yes, thanks James, and good evening to everybody. So yeah, as James said, I'm going to run through our climate action activity and programme. But the first thing I want to talk about within this is the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, and it's the image on the right hand side of this slide, which shows those 17 goals. And the reason that's important to highlight early on is a couple of reasons really. Firstly, our Co-op Society is fully supportive of these goals, and since 2015, through the International Cooperatives Alliance, all co-ops worldwide committed our actions towards these goals. And also last year, all UK retail societies also pledged their support for these goals as well. But the reason I'm highlighting this early on is because throughout the presentation, I'll be referring back to these. And these goals have been developed, these 17 goals have been developed by the United Nations as a real holistic approach to the actions we can take to tackle climate change and really make a difference for a sustainable future. And when you hear things around net zero carbon, leaving nobody behind, sustainable communities, climate action, all of these phrases have come from the Sustainable Development Goals. And I think it really shows that these goals are starting to work and be embedded. Responsible businesses are really taking these on and are really taking action amongst these. And one of the great things about being a co-op is we can work with other co-ops locally, nationally and globally to make a difference against these goals. So when it comes to really playing our part on an international level, the Mid-Counties Co-operative have got some really strong links, which I'm going to go through in a moment, which would make us real big players when it comes to supporting and taking action against these. The other element as well for us is we work with business in the community to actually track our progress against all of these goals, which is great for us because we can identify our areas of strength and how we're getting on against other businesses. But also we can identify opportunities where we can improve. And I think the thing for us as well, we're really proud in the recent report that we received that we were given the mark of outstanding and we were leading with our benchmark against these goals. So it really shows the part that we're playing. And we'll go on to in more detail about how we're doing this and the action we're taking. One of the core elements to our sustainability and environmental strategy is ensuring that our members and colleagues are at the heart of what we do. We do a huge amount of work through various surveys, campaigns and events. And only last night we ran a member event where we got members' views on what they wanted us to focus on over the next 5 years on the environmental agenda. So it's that type of activity that really helps us stand out as a cooperative. Now, one of the key things we've got within our business is our environmental steering group. And through the group, we've got colleagues from all of our trading groups represented. We've got board and member engagement committee. But I think the great thing for us on this particular call is we've now got representation from the Young Cooperators Network on that group. So we're really getting the views of a whole host of people, but the next generation of cooperators and the future generations really having their thoughts and ideas around what our society can do to defend the environment. So just move on to the next slide. This is some examples of the international work I was talking about. And even though we're an independent cooperative society, we really are playing our part on a global scale. So towards the end of last year and the beginning of this year, we were heavily involved in the launch of the World Co-op Monitor. And for those of you who don't know what that is, which may be a few of you because it's not always that well known, it is actually a really big thing. It's the report of the top 300 global co-ops. And our society featured really heavily throughout that report for our work on climate action and also our response to COVID. And our Chief Values Officer, Pete Westall, actually was invited to moderate the launch of the World Co-op Monitor, very much in recognition for our work around climate action. Very recently as well, we were invited to attend an international summit with Euro Co-ops where we're talking about sustainable consumption and circular economy initiatives and really what our business is doing to save energy and increase recycling. So just some examples then. If you just want to move on to the next slide, the examples continue even further on a local and national basis. Last year, we presented to the United Nations and the ICA on our work around One Change and mobilising members to take action. And even towards the end of last year as well, for the Association of Convenience Stores, Phil Ponsonby, our CEO, presented at the national conference on what our business is doing to be sustainable and how we're at the heart of the communities that we serve. So we've got some great presence as a business to really make a difference against these UN Sustainable Development Goals. So just move on to the next slide, please. And this is, I'm now going to go through how we achieve those accolades and why we are being put up there to present at these types of events. And I think the best way to describe our progress is through our One Change campaign, because it really does epitomise all of those things I've talked about, members at the heart of what we do and engaging with other co-ops. So many of you may be familiar with the One Change campaign, and I'll just go back a bit to how this was introduced. So about 2 years ago, we were very aware that climate change, defending the environment, tackling single-use plastics, all of those elements can be very daunting for a number of people, and people don't really know where to start when it comes to trying to take climate action and make a difference. So the idea of the One Change campaign that we launched 2 years ago is simply saying to people, just have a go at doing one thing, whatever that one thing could be that could make a positive difference, just have a go at it, and it will just get you on the steps to then doing more. So that's how One Change began, and we encourage as many members as possible just to make that One Change pledge. But then one of the core aspects for us was once we'd received those pledges, we played those pledges back to members. So members could see what each other was doing, and we could then join those members together and actually set up some really good collaboration projects. And I've got some examples of those in a moment of things that we've done and generated off the back of that activity. We then use the one change concept to ask members what they want us to do as a business, and that's really helped shape our environmental agenda, and we continue to do that all the way through. And we've also used this concept to share with other co-ops around the world, and there are many other co-ops that we work with through Euro co-ops who are now adopting a similar model to mobilise their members to take action. So if you just move on to the next slide, I'm now going to run through some of the things we're actually doing and the positive impacts we're achieving through the One Change campaign. And I've split this into two main areas because our business, probably our two biggest environmental impacts are energy saving and waste reduction. They're the things that we can have a direct influence upon, and these are things that we really do focus on. So these are the two areas I'm just going to go into a little bit of detail on. The first one is around the energy saving side of things. So at the beginning of this year, we actually launched a New Year's resolution campaign where we encourage members to go online and just plot their environmental footprint. It's a really good online calculator that people can do to do this, and we encourage members to do that. And once they completed that online calculator, we then encourage members to make one change pledges to reduce their environmental footprint. But what we did differently probably to what we did 2 years ago is we actually provided some really good sources and ideas for members to carry on and reduce that carbon footprint. And we mobilise members to do that. One of the big ways we've got is our co-op community power tariff through our utilities business. This is a tariff that essentially works with community energy groups, 90 community energy groups across the UK, where we buy renewable energy from them. It goes into that energy mix and it enables us to have a 100% renewable tariff. And we were able to signpost members towards that off the back of that pledge activity. And through that particular tariff, we've created some really strong partnerships with community groups. Through the Solar Schools programme, as an example, we work with a number of schools where through that tariff, we actually procure the excess energy that's produced through the solar panels, which we buy back into that tariff process. So we've got some really good links within there. We've also got electric car charging points within a number of our food stores. So another thing that we can help mobilise members to act on those pledges and live low carbon lifestyles. And within our funeral business, we were one of the first funeral businesses in the country to implement electrical hearse into that estate as well. So a really good way forward for us as a business. Now, within our own operations, we've also taken a lot of action on energy saving over the years, and many of you who will know our society steering wheel will know that this is one of our core targets within that. And as a result of that focus, we've reduced our energy usage by 11% over the last 5 years, which is making a big difference. And some of that is through education and awareness amongst our colleagues, and our colleagues play a fantastic part in us achieving these things, and they really do a fantastic effort at site level on saving energy and increasing recycling. So that's really helped us. But also for our property projects has made a big difference to us as well, whether it's LED lighting in a selected stores or doors on our chillers. All of this activity is really making a difference, helping us reduce our carbon footprint. And we've got some really ambitious targets moving forwards, which I'm going to come on to in a future slide. So if you'd just like to move on to the next slide, please. Thank you. The next area I'm going to talk about is waste reduction. And this really is where the One Change programme and our work with Cal Major really comes into play. So when we launched One Change, we were really keen to link this to tackling single-use plastics when we first launched it. We were very aware that our members wanted us to really take action in this area. So we did a lot of online interaction and events with members to educate and mobilise around making One Change. We had signage within our stores, encouraging members and customers to make sustainable choices, such as using a bag for life. And then we engaged with Cal Major, our environmental ambassador, who's been mentioned already, and I know we're going to look at some video footage with Cal a bit later as well. But working with Cal, so Cal's famous for stand-up paddleboarding activity and tackling litter from the waterways, and working with Cal's really enabled us to reach out to a broader scope of members than we possibly would have done previously. And we've been able to run a range of campaigns, litter, community tidy-ups with Cal. And even during lockdown, we were able to do a virtual activity with on the River Severn, which again we'll be looking at a little bit later. I mentioned earlier on that through our One Change campaign that we were able to pull members together who had similar ideas around what they could do to tackle climate change. And one of the big things that came out from the pledges we got from members is many people wanted to get involved in community tidy up. So through our regional community programme with 20 regional communities in place, we were able to tie those members together to get them involved in local community tidy ups. And on World Environment Day, not last year, the year before, we had over 700 members on one day, tackling litter from the natural environment just in one day. And I think we collected around 380 bags of litter. And a lot of those community tidy ups have carried on. Clearly, it was much more difficult during lockdown to do that, but I know they will evolve and emerge again from the work that we've done as we revigorate those groups. The other thing that came out is people wanting to reuse waste plastics for something useful, and that's where the eco bricks concept came in. And many of you may be familiar with this, but those that aren't, eco bricks are waste plastic bottles that you can fill with other waste plastics that will then form useful bricks. Now this idea came from our One Change campaign. Somebody flagged up the eco brick concept, so we took action. And the example in the bottom right hand corner there of this slide is the turkey shed that's made out of eco bricks, and that was achieved working with local members, schools, colleagues and community groups in the Cotswolds area, working with our community partner Fairy Tale Farm, which is where that image is located. So that's a great project for us, and I think as we come out of lockdown, that's a great project for us, I think, to really again move forward and do more work with. Our members told us that they clearly wanted us to get rid of single-use plastic bags from our food stores as one of the One Change pledges that we received. So we did that, and we replaced single-use plastic bags with compostable bags in all of our stores, and that's reducing 8 million plastic bags per year. So that's making a really big difference. We're also aware that members want us to use more refillable opportunities to enable them to reduce their plastic footprint. So the image in the bottom left-hand corner is milk vending, which we're trialling in a few of our food stores. We've also got a refillable range, and there'll be a bit more information on that on a video which I'll show in a short while. We're also aware that food waste is a really important issue to our members, and it's also one of the big contributing factors to climate change. So it's a really key issue which we're very much aware of. And that's one of the reasons why for a number of years now, all of our food waste from our food stores has been sent to anaerobic digestion, and we continue to do that, and that actually produces enough renewable energy to power 40 homes a year. We're also doing a lot of work to reduce the amount of food waste that comes out of the food stores as well. So we're playing our part on both sides of the equation. And across our operations, we're currently recycling 99% of our waste. That's up from 21% in 2010. And again, that's a fantastic effort from our colleagues, because it's really our colleagues that are driving that type of activity to make sure great behaviours are taking place across our sites. So I'd just like to move on to the next slide, please. Thank you. The other bit I'm just going to throw into the mix for this presentation is a bit about fair trade as well, because particularly in the Fair Trade Fortnight that we just had last year, the theme was around climate action, and it's often not always the obvious link with fair trade and climate change, and there was a great amount of work done during Fair Trade Fortnight to raise awareness of that. Now, many of you be aware that the co-op retailers in the UK are the largest convenience seller of fair trade in the UK. It's really important for our members. And there's a bigger bit of awareness raising going on that a lot of the premium from the fair trade product goes to the farmers, and a lot of that premium does go towards climate change and fighting climate change initiatives, whether it's better use of water, better farming methods, better irrigation, carbon storage within the soil. A lot of real detailed activities going on with that premium to really make a difference when it comes to climate change. That's why we're really proud champions of the fair trade mark. The difference it's making is certainly significant. So just moving on to the next slide, I think to summarise, the One Change programme does epitomise what we're trying to do with climate action. We want to try and mobilise our members to make a difference, inspire the next generation, working with the likes of Cal Major and yourselves. It enables collaboration because it pulls our members together to really make a difference. And with the example of fair trade, it encourages responsible consumption. So some great outputs from the One Change programme, the difference that we are making. Just got a short video now that we're going to play, because the idea of this is, as James mentioned early on, we've got a great example of our Botley store making a difference in the Botley area from a One Change and local community perspective. So hopefully you'll enjoy this short video. what we've got in our Botley area in Oxford is a really good example of how we are acting as that local community ecosystem. The store itself is fantastic. It's got compostable bags, food waste going to anaerobic digestion, refillable ranges, a really good concept going on within the store, but also surrounding the store, we've got some great partnerships in place with the Oxford Food Bank, where we helped set up a really good partnership with Osney Hydro on the River Thames in that area, linked to our Co-op community power tariff. And there's just some really good examples of that local ecosystem activity we've got going on around the One Change programme. And as a result of all of that, we were really proud to achieve the Sustainable Leaders Awards for Business of the Year earlier this year as well. And this is a really big award, and our society was ever so proud to win this. We also won the Social Sustainability and Community Development aspect of that award as well. Very much for our response to COVID, but also for our ongoing work around climate action. So I'd just like to move on to the next slide, please. Thank you. The final slide I've got is a little bit of an overview of what we're looking to do moving forwards. And as always, really keen to get the views of our young cooperators and our members on what we can do moving forwards. And this is hopefully going to just get a little bit of insight of what we're looking to try and achieve. Now, we're very much aware, and many of you will have heard of the phrase of trying to achieve net zero carbon, and nations all around the world are trying to achieve net zero carbon. It's something that many people have committed to. The initial target was net zero carbon by 2050, then became 2040, and now it's pushed to make it 2035. And essentially what net zero carbon is reducing the carbon emissions as much as possible. And once it gets down to the lowest level you can, you then go through a process of offsetting the rest. So we all need to play our part in that respect. So our business is certainly playing our part and wants to play our part accordingly. So that's why we've got an ambitious target over the next 5 years of halving our greenhouse gas emissions. And we also want to reduce our waste footprint by a third. So some ambitious targets within our operations. We also want to ramp up the things I've talked around One Change. So we've had some great input from members, about 1,000 pledges, but we really want to step that up with an ambitious target of engaging 100,000 members to take climate action. I think the important thing for us is we want to mobilise that change. So not just enable pledges, but actually enable people to act on those pledges. So things like our Co-op community power tariff, our compostable bags, electric car charging points, everything that we've got can really mobilise members to live low carbon lifestyles. And the final element there is you will have seen some of the great partnerships we've now got on a global scale to really help support and build on the UN Sustainable Development Goals. So we want to build on those partnerships on a global scale and really and ramp that up as much as we can moving forwards. Okay, thank you. And I will, thanks very much. I'll hand back to Marnie.
My name is Marnie Richards and I'm the Developing Young People Coordinator for Mid Counties and work alongside James. I just want to touch on again and echo what Mike has said about how we inspire the next generation of young cooperators, because that falls underneath our education strategy, and we do that in a number of ways. Some of it is delivering our sustainability programmes in partner schools, which covers topics such as plastic pollution, the eco-bricks, energy supply and demand, and community energy. We're currently working in partnership with Westmill Wind and Solar Farm to provide educational visits in a post-COVID world and provide educational resources for students. We raise awareness of global and national environmental events such as Earth Hour, National Recycling Week and World Environmental Day, which will be taking place on the 8th of June. As Mike said earlier, we've got young member representation on the environmental steering group, which is a really, excellent win for us, and getting young people to speak out and say what matters to them. And our ongoing commitment to fair trade, and this is not just through Fair Trade Fortnight, this is throughout the whole year, that we have a commitment to, educate young people, engage with them, in various activities. And finally, we've got our Green Pioneers programme, and this explores the issues of climate change and sustainability, and it gives young people the chance to make positive choices to live more sustainably and educate them in the cooperative's values, and they can apply them in every situation. Now, this then brings me on to tell you about our annual Create and Cook competition, which celebrates local food and nurtures young talent. It's actually coordinated by Min Raisman, and she's from Fit to Cook Education, but also the Best of Our Counties team within our food group. And the aim of Creating Cook is to encourage young cooks to discover their local food and develop their cooking skills. And the competition challenges young people to learn about where their food comes from, learn about seasonality and sustainability. So this competition is open for 12 to 14-year-olds, and this year we have participants from Gloucester, Oxford and Shropshire, and we hope to build on that as we move on. It's in, I think it's 5th year this year, so that's a really good, knowing where your food comes from farm to fork, and that really sells that, and great to get young people engaged with. So that's some really great work. We're working with food to promote that and raise awareness. So I'm now going to come on to talk about our environmental ambassador, and her name is Cal Major, and Mike has mentioned her before. So we've worked with Cal for probably about 3-4 years now, and you may have seen her advertising on our social platforms to sort of raise awareness of our campaigns. But you may also have seen her on Countryfile, because she regularly presents on there, promoting about protecting the environment and how we can care for the planet. So just to give you a little bit of background about Cal, she's an ocean advocate and she's also a vet, but also she's a world record paddleboard adventurer. She's really passionate about mental health and connecting people to the ocean and protecting the planet and the ecosystems. And she's a really great ambassador to have on board with us. In recognition of her expeditions and conservation work, she was recently awarded the Point of Light Award on World Oceans Day. And in 2019, she was named as one of Devon's People of the Decade. And The Independent named her on the Happy List for making the UK a better place. Now, I'm going to attempt to play a video, and I apologise now if it doesn't play, but we will have a go. If it doesn't play, then we will send out a link after that. But the following next stage for this, we'll just talk about some questions, and we'd like to get some engagement from you if possible. But fingers crossed, let's see how we go with this video. And if not, I apologise, and we can send it out in the link.
The River Severn is the UK's longest river at 354 kilometres. It starts up in Plynlimmon in the Welsh Hills, just 15 miles from the Welsh coast. From there, it flows through 4 counties and several cities and towns before reaching the Severn Estuary and emptying into the Bristol Channel and eventually the Atlantic Ocean. But it starts here. It's hard to believe that the UK's longest river can begin with a single post and a trickle of water up on a moor in the Welsh Hills. Rivers are incredibly important ecosystems, home to some amazing wildlife. They also connect all of us to the ocean, acting like arteries and veins running through our country. No matter how far inland we live, we're never too far from a river which directly connects us to the sea. However, this also means that our litter, if not properly disposed of, can end up in the rivers, flowing directly out to sea, where it's incredibly difficult to then clean it up, and it can cause enormous harm to wildlife out in the ocean. But my journey on the river starts here on the Welsh-English border on my stand-up paddleboard. I'll be paddling over the next 5 or 6 days out to sea, checking out the journey that plastic makes from inland to the coast. It was dark by the time I got off the river last night, so I didn't have a chance to sort through the rubbish that I picked up. I'm going to weigh it this morning and see how much we collected. About 3 kilos. And that was just in a couple of hours of paddling, really. And most of what I found here is plastic sheeting that was caught up in the branches of the trees lining the river, one or two plastic bottles and a frisbee. I've just arrived in Shrewsbury. This morning I paddled 15 kilometres to get here, and I saw 7 kingfishers, I saw buzzards, herons, ducks. It was a really peaceful and very untouched environment, and it feels like a stark contrast compared to the bustling city of Shrewsbury, where so far I've not seen quite as much wildlife. Still a very beautiful river, but we'll soon find out what the plastic situation is here. I've paddled 43 kilometres today, been on the water for 7.5 hours, starting to feel it now, about ready to finish for the day. My back's starting to hurt now. It's been quite an interesting day, a lot of contrast. So before, Shrewsbury was very remote, very beautiful, very full of wildlife and nature, and then since Shrewsbury it's still been absolutely gorgeous, but a lot of the nature seems to have been replaced by plastic. It was very noticeable how much more plastic there was after the city than before, and that's stuff that's been washed downstream from human activity in that city. Common plastic items I found on the river yesterday were single-use items like plastic bottles and food containers. Now, there's lots we can do as individuals to avoid these. For example, my lunch and my snacks, I've packaged them in reusable containers. There's no need for single-use plastic here, and I always take a reusable water bottle with me whenever I go out of the house. I think there's a lot of onus at the moment on individuals to make changes around their plastic consumption, and this is really important. It is going to make a difference, but also the pressure has to be on the manufacturers of plastic, and the more people who are making their choices to use less plastic and saying we don't need this in our lives, the more pressure there is on manufacturers to make it easier for us to do so and to create products that don't require single-use plastic. This morning I paddled from Cressid to Bridgenorth, and I've been joined by a group of local paddlers who are absolute legends, and I'm excited to have a chat with them today about what paddling and what the River Severn means to them. So Craig, how has this morning been for you out on the water?
Oh, it's been excellent. You know, it's one of the longest paddles I've done on the river, but already from you coming and showing what you're doing on Instagram, you know, I put a bucket on the front of my board today, and we're just talking about the club now, introducing the members to doing some regular litter picks along the river, you know, and get that. It's probably a weekly or a monthly thing that we'll do with the club members and get them into picking the litter along the river.
That's fantastic, because we were having a chat before, Dave, weren't we, about how getting people out onto the reservoir on paddleboards, perhaps people who haven't even known that there's a reservoir there, has introduced them to a way to get out on the water and a way to feel passionately about protecting it.
Yeah, it's been a fantastic journey for us, really. We're a sailing club and a declining membership, and we thought, what can we do? So we introduced paddleboarding, and it's just opened the reservoir. We've had 350 people come and do walk on water classes. People who've never dreamed of being on paddleboards or on the water. I just love the fact that it connects people with nature, with the grounding. You know, it's something really important for people.
And we were having a chat earlier as well, weren't we, about how important being on the water is for mental health. And I think, you know, both of us, we've had our own mental health journey, and actually being able to spend time on the water has been pivotal, certainly for me, and I know you were explaining before. Would you mind explaining just how important this place is for your well-being?
So yeah, I've battled mental health issues for quite a few years, and for me the river is just such a special place. It's headspace, it's being just at one with the nature. You're mindful with what you're doing, and it just clears everything away. It's soul food, and having that enjoyment and that love of what it's doing to me makes you more passionate about wanting to protect it. It's such a special place, and it could do so much good for people who've got mental health issues. The connection between water and good mental health is just amazing.
And even I think for those who don't have mental illnesses, just to kind of keep your mental health nature battery topped up, it's a really special place, isn't it? The main reason I'm taking this journey is to follow the course of the river on my stand-up paddleboard from its source all the way out to sea, and that's the same journey that plastic makes as well. So I mean, I'm finding things that we're all used to seeing in our everyday lives: bottle of Coke, milk bottle, another drinks bottle, there's even a baby's bottle here. And if not collected, all of that stuff is on its way straight out into the ocean. There was an amazing study done a few years ago which stated that if every person who visited a canal or river in the UK picked up just one piece of plastic, that in a year those environments would be free from litter. How amazing is that? So if you do go down to a river or a canal, please try and pick up just a couple of bits of litter, because once they're out of these waterways, they're in the ocean where they're often lost forever. It's the very last section on the river, and this section is tidal, which means that the ocean basically comes up and down the river a couple of times every day. And having that flow back on the river feels very special, because there were a couple of days where that flow was stopped by the locks that have been built to allow boats to pass up and down the river. There were big walls along the side of the river, and it felt very much like we tried to tame the river. I need blue space, I need time on the water and by the water for my mental health. It's the most potent potion to make me feel good and keep me well. And I did find that those couple of days where the river had stopped flowing and where it had been urbanised and tamed, felt really very, very different to the sections where the river had lots of flow and lots of wildlife and energy and was a bit more wild. So it's very, very special to be back on this wild section of the river. And I think that's something that we can take away from this, not just from my experience, but other people I've spoken to who've said that those wild sections of river are so, so vital for maintaining their mental health and keeping So an exciting day ahead and nearly done.
We can make a difference. BBC Radio Shropshire.
Do you remember last week we spoke to Cal Major? Travelling the length of the River Severn, well, most of it, doing it to raise awareness for the amount of plastic ending up in the rivers. So let's speak to her now. Morning, Cal.
I'm currently kneeling on my board because on the back of my board I've pulled out a freezer from the water. So I've got a freezer balanced on the back of my board.
Oh, what?
Only a little one, you know, a freezer, you know the little ones that stand on your countertop in the kitchen? It's that kind of size.
So that's it, I've officially finished paddling the River Severn. I'm at Sharpness now, where the water is really tidal. Today in the water I found a freezer, which I managed to get onto my board and bring down to Sharpness, where I was met by some really lovely guys from Sara who pulled it out of the water for me and are going to help me dispose of it. I've also found lots of single-use plastic, bottles, bags, again the same stuff that I've been finding the whole time. But I feel really grateful to have seen this journey that plastic makes and to see all the different types of stuff that we can find in the river here and use that to help communicate better ways to live with and without plastic. So I'm just weighing the litter I found today on the river. I reckon I've got another 3 or 4 kilos in there. Yeah, 4 kilos today, plus a 20 kilo freezer. So I reckon that brings the running total up to probably around 80 kilos of litter in 1 week by one person. That's more than I weigh. This afternoon I'm heading over to a nursery in Bristol where the children have been following this journey and apparently they've made their own sea creatures from plastic. And it's so great to see the younger generation so engaged and so passionate about protecting wildlife. But this journey has shown us that we all need to do something to help to tackle this problem. It can't just be down to the younger generation. It's a massive issue, it's still affecting us, it's not gone away and it's not going anywhere anytime soon. We all need to step up and do what we can to help protect our natural world.
My name's Autumn and I'm 3 years old. I love the sea in the rivers.
Why do you love the sea and the rivers?
Because they got turtles and they've got sea. I made jellyfish.
Can you show us your jellyfish? What colours have you got on your jellyfish?
Purple, red and green and pink.
And can you tell me about plastic bottles?
Plastic bottles are plastic and fish can't eat them.
So what should we do with plastic bottles?
Throw them in the bin.
What James and I would like to hear from you today are quite a few things about, firstly, how we can engage more with young members and what are the big things that you want us to do for young co-operators for 2021. So we'd love to hear from you. So I'm going to hand over to James. You can put them in the chat function or you can put your hand up and we'll speak to you. But if we can have some real conversation, we really value your feedback and we really want you to help us shape the Young Co-operators Network moving forward. So anything that, feedback, whatever it may be, good, bad, what you've heard tonight, it'd be really good to get your comments if that's okay. So I'm just going to hand back over to James.
Thank you, Mike and Marnie, for your presentations. I'll just quickly move over to a question that we had in chat from Shani. So she wants to know, she says in chat that I think it's great that we've removed single-use plastics from our stores and have replaced them with compostable ones. Do we have any plans to remove these in future, also to encourage our customers and members to use reusable bags for life only?
Yeah, I mean, that is a really interesting question, because you're absolutely right. There's a couple of angles when it comes to plastic bags and compostable bags, and one angle is you're absolutely right, is to purely try and go down the reusable bag option. At the moment, our approach is to really focus on the two and keep the compostable bag option in place. And one of the reasons for that is the compostable bag that we've got, with working with Co-op Group and the other Co-op societies, we've done a huge amount of work to try and ensure that this is one of the most environmentally friendly compostable bags that you can have. And the reason I say that is because it's not only a compostable bag that most local authorities will collect and can recycle as part of their recycling processes, it can also be used in domestic composting facilities, in well-managed domestic compost facilities. So if you've got compost at home, it can actually be used within that as well. And a huge amount of effort and technology went into producing that, working with various councils, various authorities. So from a sustainability point of view, it's a very impressive thing, and it's also something that from a plastic reduction point of view is quite significant. However, on the bag for life side of things, what we are going to be doing, we're currently phasing this out as we speak, is we are phasing out the lower priced bag for life option, so the 10 pence plastic bag for life, because there was a recent study from Greenpeace and various other research which is showing that actually that is becoming the new single-use plastic bag if we're not careful. In fact, it already has done, and the cheaper plastic bag for life is being used and pretty much disposed of, and it's having a big footprint. So what we are going to be doing is phasing towards that. So what we will end up with is the compostable bag option and then the more sustainable bag for life option. But we will keep monitoring that as things progress and what we think is the best approach for the environment.
Perfect. Thank you, Mike. So another question from Daisy is, it's really interesting to see the plans for the future of using your co-op rewards to engage with young members, and what kind of rewards do we envision? So a question that could be a question to everyone who's on this call at this moment. So that we have no certain plans, and we would really like to hear what you would like to see as rewards for spending money in our food stores, or to be voting with us, or earning those instant rewards that really you can spend. So if anyone wants to raise a hand if they are comfortable with speaking, or alternatively, you can just write any messages in the chat. Okay, so we've got a chat saying days out, gin tours, wine tours. Does sound very appealing to me, I must admit. Myself personally, I'd like holidays. I'm a golfer. I play a lot of golf, so I like to go abroad and play golf. So any discounts on flights, hotel bookings, golf trips, that again personally would appeal to myself. Reese says deals for weekend getaways and nights away. Again, not bad. Again, we could do this UK and European city breaks. Slad Rose says rewards on travel. Again, I completely agree with that personally. Festivals, yes, tickets to Glastonbury, Reading, you name it. We could definitely have a look into that. Perfect. Okay,
I have seen you comment on there, James, about Instagram, and we have looked into this, but this was not going away about the request for Instagram, so that would be something we really do need to look into. So thank you, Nikki.
Of course. So keep the recommendations and ideas coming in chat. I will quickly go back to Chloe, who posted a question to you, Mike. So is there any way that we can give food that would be wasted to people in need in the community, as customers are always asking about what we do with our waste and the amount of people who would really appreciate it?
Yes, yeah. So I suppose there's a couple of things on this that we are. So the first thing to point out is the difficulty of doing it, because it's something that we have wanted to have done for a long time, and we have done it in small cases, whether it's been localized partnerships or trials. The issue that we have and a lot of retailers have is clearly our stores close quite late in the evening, and if a product is about to go past its use by date and it can't be used within that window of time by the beneficiary, then we can't give it away to them. So that's one of the difficulties that we've had when it comes to this food donation initiative. But it doesn't mean it's impossible, it just means it's very difficult. So there are two things that are going on at the moment to help us overcome this. First of all, with our food retail team, we're working with an app provider, or two app providers actually at the moment, to see which would be the best one for us to use, which essentially would enable those who are called waste warriors who use the app to be identified, would be told at a certain point in the evening where there is going to be some food waste available for purchase at a reduced price. So it's almost like if you work in a food store, when you go through the reduce to clear process, there could be a step in there that enables that app to trigger to those people that could use that food that would be going to waste. And I think that could be a really good thing for us. Some other co-op societies have started using it. I think Lincoln Co-op and I think Scott Mid are using that as well. So that's one option that we are looking at, and there will be a trial that we rolled out on that certainly by the summer at the latest. It may be sooner than that. The other option is, as you say, is the actual donation part at the end, which is the difficult bit. So if we did that app process and there was still food at the end at 10 or 11 o'clock at night, the thing we're looking at there is working with other co-op societies is the community fridge concept, and we're still learning a bit about that with a charity called Hubbub. And essentially, it could mean that working with likes of Fair Share as an option, food can be frozen or refrigerated at a certain time to enable recipients to use the product. So we are looking at doing more in that space, but it's not an easy one because of the use by sell by window. But there'll certainly be movement on that over the next few weeks towards the summer.
Perfect, thank you. And what about the Too Good to Go? Daisy said that she uses the app and it's a really good one.
That's the one. Yeah, that's the one. That's the app. Yeah, really good. Too Good to Go. The other app is Olio, which is slightly different. But yeah, it's great you're using that, Daisy, because yes, it sounds like a really good concept.
Perfect. And just to add on to that, Mike, Ellie's just put in chat that the food bank have items best before dates that have expired up to 3 months out of date, as we can only use. As we can only have ambient product on the shelf up to a month out of date for the best before date. Is there any way that this does not sell? Can this go through our waste and go to the food bank?
I think I'd have to look into that. I can certainly see the thinking behind that and the context. Wouldn't want to commit because sometimes there's a lot of sort of difficulties behind the scenes of why you can't do things. But on the face of it, I do think that is a good idea. And thanks for the feedback. Something I'll look into because it could be worth a look at.
Perfect. And Toby's asked if there are any plans to introduce refill dispensers for cereal, tea bags, coffee, pasta, etc., to cut down on plastic waste and packaging in our food stores.
I mean, that is certainly a very good idea, and anything we can do to enable refillable ranges would be great. And I know the food retail team and their concept designs are looking at how things like the Botley refill stations are working, the milk vending machines, and the constant review of those types of things is to see if we could do more and go further. So again, really good idea though, and all the ideas that are being generated and questions here, I will certainly be taken back within consideration for our 5-year planning. So I wouldn't know if there's exact plans for that, but I do know that the food retail team are reviewing the current refillable ranges with a view to see what else could we possibly do around that as well. So yeah, good idea, and definitely worth considering.
Perfect, thank you. And just another one from one of our food stores. So could we encourage the community with electrical recycling with bins? So the more that you recycle, the more points that you could potentially collect on your membership rewards. And again, this would also have a knock-on effect of getting people to join the society.
Yeah, and that is a really good idea. And actually, I don't know if it went live today or whether it's going live tomorrow, but in our Colford food store, working with Hubbub, we are actually trialing a recycling reward machine. Now, it's different concept to what you've just described there, but it is a very similar theory. So it's working with Hubbub and the local council, and essentially when somebody comes and recycles within that machine, they get a reward token which is used in the local tourist information office. So it's a local council initiative, and it will be things like days out and that type of thing as rewards. Now we're using that to see if the concept and the technology works, because if we can, we would then love to tap that back into member cards and Lincoln Remember Rewards program as well. So yeah, really good idea, and fun enough, literally as of now we're trialing something within Colford Food Store.
Perfect, thank you. And do you know what we're doing to reduce fashion? So I know Jacob Simmons has said that Asda have recently started second-hand clothing range, and is this something that the Mid-Counties Co-op have considered?
I think it's I think it's a really good idea, because the environmental impact of the clothing industry is very significant, and there's been a huge amount of research that's gone into that, and actually saying that reusing that type of, the clothing, that material is going to make a really big difference to tackling climate change. I don't know how many of our businesses and sites would sell clothing, but I know there are some. I know we have concessionaries as well within our areas. Because of that, it probably hasn't been something we've picked up as a big impact and a big focus area for our business. But again, it's a really good idea, and if there are pockets within our businesses that have that opportunity, then it's certainly worth us looking at. So it's a good idea. It's not certainly been high on our agenda just because of the fact that it's not a big part of our environmental impact. But yeah, really good idea though.
Perfect, thank you. I'm just going to flick it over to questions with the Young Cooperators Network, because I've seen a few have been trickling through the chat. Reece, you mentioned a while ago that we want our young members to control the Young Cooperators Network social media platforms, and you're asking how do we intend to do this? So I know personally that we have a Facebook page that is open to anyone who is under 30 and is a member of the Mid-Counties Co-op. You are able to post freely on that social media channel. Alternatively, if we are going to start engaging with our young members, we want it to be a two-way engagement channel. So if you want to make a weekly blog or a vlog or something along the lines of those, we can always work together and get your ideas and feedback. And we'll be more than happy to work with you to post that on our Young Cooperators Facebook page.
Can I just add as well, James, we really would like to encourage more young cooperators to have their interaction and post on our social media platforms. That would be great. And I mean, the plan moving forward, for our young cooperators to be more proactive to do this would be great, and something we really would desire.
Yeah, so if you do want to join our Facebook group, if you can search Young Cooperators Network MCC on Facebook, and we'll be the first one at the top of the page. Just moving to Chloe's question. Chloe's asking, is there any way to communicate better with young colleagues in food stores? A lot of new starters don't know this, that even exists. And again, Reece has also made a suggestion about including the YCN on new employees training. So I can confirm that we are meeting with our induction team and we will be including the Young Cooperators Network as part of every individual under the age of 30's induction process. Marnie, do you want to tell us a little bit more about that process?
Yeah, so basically when we have new colleagues that sign up on the induction, there will be a slide on there informing our young members that this is what's taking place, this is how you can get involved, and this is what it is. So watch this space within the next month or so, you'll be seeing that, and when our new starters come through, they will be alerted to the network, and then and immediately know about it and can get involved and find out ways in which they can.
Perfect, thank you. We do also have posters in food stores, lunch areas, so that should include a QR code that you can scan, and that will automatically take you to our Facebook page if you do want to discuss anything with us. I see a couple of questions from Jacob and Daisy about the MEC and the elected member. So I'm not going to give any spoilers away, but we do have an event coming up all about the election campaign and the benefits of being an elected member. So if you do want to find out more, you'll have to register for our event that is coming up shortly.
Can I just ask, is there anything that you think we're not doing right? Anything you want to see, you know, something, a really big bang for, like, 2021, how can we engage more with young people? Are we missing a trick here? You tell us, we would like you to help us to shape this. So if you think we're missing a trick somewhere, or we're missing a gap, how can we fill that? We really want to hear from you for your feedback, that we can consider this and then put this into our plans and our strategies moving forward.
Okay, I see Emily's got her hand up.
Thanks, James. Yeah, I was going to say, I think we do so much to create this better, fairer world, and I'd love to see the Young Co-operator Network talk more about some of those big documentaries that we see on Netflix, like Seaspiracy, Cowspiracy, Mission Blue, things like that, that we know everyone's talking about, and we almost feel like we're actually ahead of the game on some of these topics, and actually it'd be great to use those to relate to those young people, because that's the conversations that everyone's having. That is what young people care about, and it would be great to kind of get that message out there. I've actually Co-op are that business that do that already.
That's great. Mike, do you just want to share with the on the forum about what we're doing with travel now, and then the SeaWorld tickets?
Yeah, of course. So I think this is a really good example, I guess, of our values in action, really. And Sarah Dunham, who's come in to oversee our travel business, has taken that steer and really taken our values in action to heart there, because essentially we've from our travel business side of things, we've moved away from SeaWorld because of the animal welfare issues that have been highlighted, with many other businesses pulling away from them as well. So essentially, our decision around that is based around doing the right thing with our values at the heart, and with the animal welfare issues that have been flagged up. So it's showing it's a good move.
Thank you, Mike. Okay, so it looks like Okay, so there's a question from Jacob. Being a young member, the biggest question, and which isn't necessarily communicated, is what's in it for me? So again, Jacob, we did mention about the Your Co-op rewards. That is being launched at our AGM, which is happening on Thursday, the 13th of May, that you can see on screen. We are looking for suggestions from our young members about what rewards they wanted to see. Again, we want people to be engaged with us, so we want you to tell us what kind of rewards you want us to see. And I can see from the chat we've got plenty of food for thought for that. But it's not only just about the instant rewards. Don't get me wrong; that plays a massive factor in young members and customers of our society. However, it's also about the opportunity of giving an equal voice. You can vote in society elections at the age of 16, and you can't even vote for which political party you want to do. So it really helps your society, our society, to hear your voices about what you want us to be doing, because at the end of the day, young members are the future of the Mid-Counties Cooperative. So we do want to hear your views and opinions and everything that you have to say.
And I'll just echo what James has said. This is about, being a cooperative business, and the way we work, is something very, very different about what we do with our profits, the whole way of working, our values. And a lot of our values resonate with young people. And this is about how you can get involved, what volunteering opportunities, that we're an employer of choice. We have got competitions and that engage with young people, that, okay, we want to improve and get better. But this has all been about, having a say, being given that opportunity. At a recent board meeting, we've got a young member, and she'd actually fed back and said, this is the first time somebody's actually listened to me, which was that sort of, quiet moment. All the boards sort of took a step back about what this young person has said. But this is providing that platform for young people about getting involved, about being part of a business that's really different, and it's very cooperative and very caring.
Perfect, thank you. Tara's got a question. Is there anything else we do that you think we shouldn't should be doing as a co-op.
Is that to everybody? Yeah.
It's yeah, to the speakers. If you have anything to in terms of environmental or for young members.
Yeah, no, I think it's a general question out to everybody, James. Just put in the chat, is there anything else like SeaWorld is a great move, and I see that a couple of people have really said, really reacted to that and said this is what we want to hear about, this is something we can engage with. Is there anything else that we do as a co-op that you think we shouldn't be doing along those lines?
Perfect, thank you, Tara. So if you do have any suggestions, please do put them in chat for us to see.
Also, James and I are, available, contact us, email or phone, any suggestions. You might go away and think, oh, why didn't I say that? Or why didn't I think about that? But, you can contact us and feel free and join the Facebook page, join the Twitter. But, email us directly if you've got any suggestions that you think can shape this moving forward. That'd be of great value to us.
Definitely. Okay, so I can see the questions are slowly dying down. So what we'll do is please continue to put anything you do want to know in chat. We can pick that up afterwards. So we'll just move on with the presentation. So finally, don't forget to register to our AGM, which is held on the 13th of May. You can scan the QR code that is on screen now. Alternatively, you can visit at the website, which is on screen too. Next slide, please, Marnie. We have also been nominated for Leading Co-operative of the Year. So if you do want to vote for the work that we've been doing and continue to do, please do visit the web link on screen and vote for the work that we've been doing as a cooperative. Because everything that we are doing together, we are making a difference. So lastly, what I would like to do is just play a short video from our Society's President, Helen Wiseman, just to formally close the session.
Hello, I'm Helen Wiseman, Society President, and I'd like to thank you for joining us for this session today. I hope that you found it both interesting and informative. This is part of our ongoing commitment to get members more involved and listening to their views on the society that they own. I'm delighted to tell you that we've been nominated as Leading Co-op of the Year, and you can find out more about how to vote in this award at the end of the video. And finally, I look forward to our AGM on the 13th of May. I hope that you can join us, take part and vote on issues that matter, and find out how we are driving the success of your society, supporting our communities and working towards a better, fairer world. Thank you.
We'll be staying on the call a little bit longer, just in case any of you do have any additional questions that you want to ask afterwards. But thank you ever so much to Mike and Marnie for speaking at today's event. And thank you all very much for attending. It has been really interesting to hear all of your views and opinions. So again, if you do want to follow us on Facebook, we are on there under Young Cooperators Network MCC. Also, we are on Twitter. And if you do want to contact us with any questions or suggestions, you can email us at ycn@midcounties.coop. So again, like I said, I will be staying a little bit longer with Mike and Marnie, just in case you do have any additional questions. But again, one final thank you to everyone who's presented today and for all of you who have attended and contributed.
Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you so much.
Okay, Mike, we've got a question from Reese in the chat. Is there any signs to be making bakery bags recyclable at all?
Yeah, so I suppose the update on that side of things is I know that obviously the compostable bag is now in the food stores, and what Co-op Group and FRTS are doing is trying to use similar technology to see if we can do the other smaller bags in a similar style. I don't know whether that would be relevant or applicable to the bakery bags or not, but certainly those smaller produce type bags and those other elements that we use plastic bags for, the idea would be hopefully eventually the compostable bag option will be there for those as well. So at the moment, I mean, we would ideally want to be phasing out all the single-use plastic bags from our stores, and that would include the bakery bag. So I think at the moment for FRTS, we're just hanging on how quickly that can be progressed from a more sustainable product source. But yeah, it's certainly a good idea, and we'll see how quickly it can go through FRTS first, I think.
Perfect, thank you. A question from Ellie that was asked a short while ago. I think she thinks that there needs to be some sort of reduction on how much paper that we use for legals and cash office. Mike, do you know of any plans that we would be doing to tackle this issue? And do you know how much paper that is used daily?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much paper's used daily, James. That would be a cool if I had that in my head. but I do know that the paper reduction is going to be really important for us, because we've got a target. Last year we had a target of 5% reduction in our waste. This year we've got a 10%. And when you look at the opportunities we've got to reduce waste, paper is a clear one for us to be able to try and make a difference within, because that's something that most colleagues across the business in one way or another are using paper in one form or another, whether it's printed in the office, whether it's in the store. But the cash office, I think, is a really interesting one, because we've looked before to try and remove and reduce paper, and I think we have in certain places. But if there's still a lot of paper being used within that example, I'd be really keen to look into that in more detail, because one of my jobs over this next year is certainly going to be trying to identify further paper reduction opportunities, because it's one of the cool ways we'll achieve those waste reduction targets. So thanks for flagging that up, because actually that could be an opportunity to try and do something with.
Perfect, thank you. And Chloe asked, will we be getting rid of produce bags like Tesco's and Sainsbury's?
Yeah, I mean, it's a similar response, I guess, to the question before, and the fact that we certainly would like to, and we'd like to try and use the compostable bag solution if it can be produced through FRTS to have that solution in place. I mean, there's obviously the reusable bag options as well, which I know I think some stores have started using. But yeah, we're seeing if we can get on with that compostable bag first through FRTS, and hopefully we'll be able to move on with that one.
Perfect, thank you, Mike. Okay, has anyone got any other questions that they would like to ask anyone? Oh, Ellie's just added on to that question, Mike, that they also have issues with receipts as well in food stores.
I'll come off the mic, but basically what we have an issue with is if you don't click yes to the receipt at the till, the receipt won't go on the back office. So if anyone comes in wanting obviously that receipt, we haven't got it at all. So we click yes, so we got it on the back office. And we're generating so much, like about 2 bags a day of paper. And obviously you've got the recycling facilities in here for paper.
So is it? Yeah, I think I've that's been flagged up to me before as well. So I think, am I right in saying that even if am I right in saying if the customer doesn't want a receipt, we're still having to generate one anyway? Is that right? Yeah. I mean, I think it's certainly something that Tracy Edwards and the IT team have looked at, and I know are looking at. Obviously, there's not a solution in place yet, but you'd be absolutely right to flag it up, because that is another great example of how we could just reduce that waste. But that is an issue which I know they're aware of, and I think they're trying to tackle that from an IT solution point of view. But again, this is all a great thing about this session, so I'll take that away as well.
Okay, thank you.
Perfect, right. Okay, I think the questions are slowly dying down. So again, if you do have any other comments or suggestions that you do want us to look into, again, contact us on Facebook, tweet us, and you can email us as well. So I really appreciate all of you attending as well. Your feedback, your views, your opinions, they've been invaluable. There's definitely some food for thought for myself and Mike. So again, thank you from myself, Mike, and Marnie.